Today's drawing is for beginners and beyond. It's how to draw a rabbit with simple basic shapes, starting with setting up guidelines, and we will use pencils for measuring and placement of our basic shapes. And those basic shapes will sketch in a rough drawing for us. Then we will refine our lines and finish our drawing. Come on into the doodle den for today's sketch tutorial, how to draw a rabbit with easy basic shapes. For today's drawing, we're using plain white paper and 3 pencils. Now you can use any pencil you're comfortable with for drawing. Just make sure that your sketch lines are as light as possible for easy erasing later on. And feel free to use a ruler if you want to. There is no rule about using a ruler. I guarantee you that the drawing police will not show up. Let's start by sketching and setting up our guidelines. At the top of our page, in the middle, let's sketch a guideline from top to bottom. Now, roughly at the center of that guideline, let's draw a line from right to left. Now we can move on to the basic shapes with our guidelines. Now on the center line, we will draw a mark on the vertical line just about an inch from the center mark. Draw a line to the left and right of that mark, but no need to sketch this line all the way across the page. About that far. Now on this line to the left and to the right, draw a mark about 2 pencil widths from the center guideline. Now let's draw a mark 1 pencil width from the marks we just made. This will help us with setting up the right proportions for the top of the head of our rabbit. Now let's lay 2 pencils flat above the top line and draw 2 marks above the first ones we did. Now using those marks, let's sketch in our first basic shape of our rabbit drawing, a rectangle. Now from the top corner of that rectangle, we are going to draw an angled line connecting the outside marks for our next basic shape of our rabbit drawing, a triangle. And this will give us the top form of the rabbit's head. Now let's continue with the face and cheeks. Now just below our center guideline, we will draw another line just like the top one, the same distance from the center, and draw that line approximately the same as the top one, not all the way across the page. Now let's connect our top outside marks with the guideline we just made and draw a line straight down that guideline, giving us another basic shape of a rectangle. For the cheeks of our rabbit drawing, we will make a mark 2 pencil widths to the left and to the right of our rectangle on our bottom guideline. Now we'll draw a line connecting those with the top of our rectangle for another basic shape of a triangle. Now we can work on the mouth and the chin of our rabbit drawing. At the center guideline, we're going to draw a mark, one pencil above our bottom guideline and one pencil below our bottom guideline. Now on our horizontal line, at the bottom, draw a mark in the middle between the center and the outside of our rectangle. Now on the other side. Now from that mark, we are going to draw another mark 2 pencils down. Now let's sketch in our chin of our rabbit by drawing and connecting our bottom marks. And let's sketch in the mouth by connecting the marks inside the rectangle of our rabbit drawing. And now we're going to sketch in the nose of our rabbit drawing in between the mouth and our center line, and that's going to be in the shape of a diamond. For our eyes, let's draw a circular shape starting at the center guideline and going toward the top guideline. We're not going to go all the way, but we're going to go just about 3/4 of the way. Same on the other side. Now for the body, we will draw 2 lines just inside our chin line, angled out. Now on to the ears. The ears of our rabbit drawing will be a rectangle with a triangle on the top. Now for the measurement of that rectangle part of the ear, it is the same length of the rectangle of the face. Now we can get a rough measurement for the face. You can use your pencil, you can use your fingers, or you can just eyeball it. I'm going to use my pencil like this. Draw a mark at the end of your pencil. Now half of that distance above that mark will be the triangle. So about half of that distance. And we will make a mark at the end of the pencil for our triangle. Okay, now just above the eye, we will draw the line of our rectangle. Draw that up to the first mark. Now just above the top of the head, we will draw the other line of our rectangle up to the first mark. Now we're going to connect them. Now we're going to draw the triangle, take that mark and connect it to both corners of the rectangle. And now let's repeat our ear sketch on the other side. Now at this point we are done sketching our rabbit. Take a moment before we erase our guidelines and make sure you're happy with the rabbit drawing and the proportion of the sketch. And now would be the time to make any changes that you want to make. So let's erase our guidelines. When I erase my guidelines, I use a little brush like this. I've had this for years. You can use anything you want to get the eraser leavings off your paper. Get a little paintbrush or whatever you want to use. It just makes it easier instead of using your hand and smudging it. Now I know our rabbit drawing is looking more like basic shapes than a rabbit, but this is where it all transformed. Now we can start drawing details and refining the lines of our rabbit sketch. Now I like to start from the top and work my way down the sketch and to keep the smudging of our rabbit drawing down as much as possible. Now let's start at the very top of the ears of our rabbit drawing, and let's take the basic shapes and soften them and make them look as real as possible. We'll start by rounding over the tip of the triangle. Same on the other side. And we will give our rabbit drawing another clean up before we start to finish it. Now let's give our rectangle ear a rounded look to it. And on the other side. Now to the inside of the ear of our rabbit drawing, let's give it a fold. Now the other side. Now where the ears connect to the top of the head, let's give it a slightly round look. Now the other side. Okay, let's take that same curve and connect it across to the other side. Now just below the eye, we're going to draw a curved line to the bottom of the triangle. Like so. Now the other side. Now at the top of the eye, let's draw a curve out and up toward the ear, giving the eye a realistic look. Now the other side. Now on to the eyes. We're going to take this straight line out. We're going to start at the top, curve it in a little bit, almost like an S, maybe a backwards S. Same on the other side. Now on the bottom of the of the nose, yeah, bottom of the eyes, we're going to curve another line like that, going from the cheek to the inside. Now for this next step, I want to just clean out the inside of the eye so we can give the eye a little bit of detail. So let's erase those lines right there. Okay. Now we're going to draw a little square at the top, or you can use a little circle, giving the eye some highlight. Now we're going to go and move on to the nose and give the nose some detail. Take that diamond shape and just give it a little bit of a rounded look. Now just below the nose, let's draw our mouth, and we will bring the mouth line up to just about even to the middle of the nose. Keeping our lines light. This will just define the cheeks later on of the mouth. Okay, now let's take and round the bottom up so it doesn't look so blocky. Same on the other side. Now let's go back up to the eye of the rabbit. Let's darken the eye up. Just make sure you leave the little square or circle highlight nice and clear. And take your time with this, as it'll pay out big time later, the more time you take with it. Now let's go ahead and give our rabbit one final cleanup, or one more cleanup, getting rid of the lines that are associated with the basic shapes. All right, let's take the shoulders of our rabbit, the body, and let's give it a little bit of a curve back into the head. Now on the other side. Time to work on shading with our pencil and finishing touches of our rabbit drawing. And we are going to start up at the top of the ear, putting down a base layer for fur. We are going to soften our base layer using tissue paper wrapped around our finger. That will blend that in with the outside edge of our rabbit's ear. We are going to make some wispy lines for fur detail. Now put the point of your pencil down and flick while lifting up off the paper. And darken the top side of the ear of our rabbit. Come down and fade out into a softer line. Let's start on the back side of the ear of our rabbit drawing, adding a fur base layer. along the edge of the ear with some fur detail using a short back and forth stroke. Now let's put some veins into the ear of our rabbit drawing and use a blending stump to give it that blurry under the skin effect. Now repeat that process on the other ear. Now we can give more detail up along the head of our rabbit, like we did up along the ear, using those short back and forth strokes. And we are going to start at the top of the head with fur detail, using the same method as the ear, using a darker shade at the top of the head to give the head some shape. I use the tissue paper to soften and blend. Now the space between the eyes is just like above, using darker shading values to form the face of our rabbit drawing. Now let's darken the eyes of our rabbit drawing as much as you can, now leaving that highlight nice and clear. Now for the eyelashes of our rabbit, use the press and flick method while lifting the pencil up off the page. Now while shading the cheeks of our rabbit drawing, curve your shading lines. This will help with defining the face shape. Soften and blend each side of the cheeks with tissue paper. Now let's darken the lines of the nose and start on the mouth of our rabbit drawing. Now you can add whiskers to your rabbit drawing if you like, using that press and flick method. We can add some fur detail to the chin with that short back and forth stroke. Now for the body of the rabbit drawing, use the side of your pencil to give it that airy look. I hope you enjoyed today's video, how to draw a rabbit with easy basic shapes. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite part of the video was. And thank you very much for joining me at the Doodle Den. And we'll see you next time.